Girl, my hair is looking whack. My makeup's looking whack. Do you guys remember, I might be betraying my age here, but do you remember when like clumpy, thick, freaking 3 layers of mascara was like the look? And it was so the look that I think it was like Maybelline put out a mascara that was like supposed to look clumpy and gross. I worked in a grocery store at the time. It was my first job. And I would see that mascara and I was like, oh, I wish I had that because I want my lashes to look like enormous and clumpy. What the hell? Friggin' beauty trends are weird, but that's not why we're here. Hey there, sports fans. Today is going to be a roundup of all the spooky books that I read in September and October. I have my handy dandy tablet here for notes, and let's just jump right in. So for the month of October and pre-October, I wanted to give myself an attainable goal that I could actually read over the course of 2 months. So I set myself a goal of 6 books. 2 of them were really short and an optional 7th, and I did read all 7, which is pretty exciting because I tend to hit these weird reading slumps where I will just not read at all for like 2 weeks. I don't know why. It's just my brain, I guess. So it was pretty exciting to me that I was able to set this goal and hit it. Although I am currently in a little bit of a slump. The first spooky book that I read was Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. I gave this book 1 star. I thought it was super stinky, crusty, soggy, did not enjoy. I don't really want to talk about it anymore. I have like a full review that's really not very comprehensive because I recorded it when I did not take notes. I guess I can give you a quick rundown. The gist of the book is that a group of individuals who meet up in a graveyard to smoke on their overnight shifts, they show up at the graveyard. They see that there's a grave dug, a grave. It's just a big hole that's dug in the graveyard. It creeps everybody out. Through a course of like kind of stupid events, they find out that a professor at a local college and her aide or assistant have been performing experiments on rats that they weren't supposed to do. And then we find out that they also did human trials that they weren't supposed to do. And it turns out that the drugs that they were giving the rats and the people makes them like ultra violent. And that's it. That's the whole story. I don't really care. None of the characters were particularly likable. It didn't really make sense for any of them to spend time together. It didn't make sense, like, so they all work overnights and they show up in the graveyard to smoke. And because they're always there smoking together, which by the way, who works 7 nights a week? Anyway, they form like a little bit of a camaraderie, but they have like a group chat. And I'm like, if I'm going outside to drink a soda pop at work, because I don't smoke, gross. But if I'm going outside to like drink a soda pop at work and there's a bunch of dumbasses who I don't like, because they don't like each other, who also come outside to drink the same soda pops at the same time, I'm not like hanging out with them. I'm not starting up a camaraderie of friendship. I'm not starting a group chat for damn sure. So that on its own like didn't make a lot of sense. It was stupid. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I didn't enjoy it. 1 star, stinky, poo-poo, yucky, gross, soggy, and I think I gave it 1 on the spookometer because it wasn't scary at all. So someone did tell me that Graveyard Shift is not categorized as a horror, and so maybe it didn't belong in my TBR to begin with. I did look it up and it is categorized as horror when I Googled it, but that doesn't really mean anything. Even if it wasn't supposed to be horror, I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was stupid. So still 1 star, still crusty, but if you're reading it thinking that it's supposed to be scary, we might both be wrong. Shifting the tone a bit, I read What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. I also have a full review of this one, so I'm not going to talk about it for too long, but I loved this. I gave it 4 stars, I believe. I thought it was atmospheric. I love the characters. Easton is such a great main character. They are really easy to read, really easy to identify with. The supporting characters are fantastic. I loved the grandson of the woman that they hired to like take care of the cabin. I absolutely loved him, and I kind of wanted him and Easton to like fall in love, but it's not that kind of book. I really enjoyed this. The atmosphere is great. I guess if you want to call it a monster, it was really interesting. I liked the concept. My only complaint is that I do wish these were like a little bit longer, like even maybe 30 pages longer. But I understand it's a novella. It's meant to be a short gothic that you can just consume in a sitting. And for that, it's wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend it. I believe I gave it a 2 on the spookometer because it's not super scary, but there is a scene, a specific scene that if you know, you know, that is pretty frightening. Next up, I read another stinker, and that was The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. I gave this 2 stars. I wanted to love it, but the ending was just so terrible. I did a full review of this as well. I think maybe I was a little bit unfair in my review because I didn't talk about a lot of what's actually very good about this book. There is a lot that's good in this book. And I think had the ending been better, I would have really enjoyed it. It would probably be a 3-star read, but the ending sucked, so it's a 2-star read. The atmosphere is great. The supporting characters are great. I hate the male main character, Augustine. Oh, he is so stinky, stinky crusty. We do not like him. The female main character, I'm kind of indifferent towards. It feels like the author was writing 2 different women and then accidentally combined them. So she starts out one way and then her personality and her priorities kind of shift as soon as she gets like hot for doctor. The creepy manor itself was great. I love the estate and I would have loved to see more of the estate. It was so creepy, it was so spooky, it was very like kind of misty morning atmospheric. I liked that a lot. I liked the concept. The reason things are happening is really interesting and I think kind of unique. I hadn't read anything exactly like that before. So this book has a lot going for it. And I suppose if you're looking for a happy ending in your horror, then this might be good for you. You might really enjoy it. I truly despised the happy ending because I didn't feel like the characters deserved it. I felt like the characters kind of deserved the ending that they were hurtling towards. And that's all I really want to say about that. Next was another winner, and that was The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. This is not a horror. It's not meant to be scary at all. I knew it wasn't a horror going in, but I thought maybe it was going to be like a little bit creepy. It's not. It has absolutely no creep, no spook, no horror, but I am not disappointed at all. I gave this book 4 stars. It's not on the spookometer because it's not supposed to be scary. This is wonderful, and I don't think I can recommend it enough. It's incredibly short, it's extremely easy to read, but there's so much to take away from it. It is a darkly comedic kind of character study of this family and their response to their son turning into a giant bug. I have a whole review on this one, so I won't harp on it too long, but I really, really enjoyed this, and I want to tell everybody that I know to read it, give it a chance, and tell me your interpretations, because I do think that there's a lot to take away from this. I think there's a lot to think about and a lot of different ways to interpret it. Next up, Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This is another 4-star read for me. It was a 2 on the spookometer because the scenes that were very scary, but there are not that many of them. This is also not categorized as a horror. I believe it's categorized as just sci-fi, but it does have some horror elements to it, which is why I included it in my spooky reads. Annihilation is told from the perspective of a biologist who is one of 4 members of a exploratory team that goes into this place called Area X. It is just a location that has been kind of quarantined off from the rest of the world, and a conglomeration of government entities send people in to explore. This is so weird, and again, I cannot recommend it enough. I have a full review of this one, so I won't talk about it too long, but I really enjoyed it. I can't recommend it enough. I think that there's so much to think about with this, and there's so many like ideas and interpretation about what the hell is happening in this book. I thought it was a blast. It is very subtle in its horror elements, and it's kind of psychological. It's not very long, but I would say that the tension is like a slow build throughout the entire book. So it does have you kind of like sitting on the edge of your seat waiting for something. And I know that some people didn't like that and they felt like it didn't have payoff in the end of what you were waiting for. But I think that if you go into it with an open mind, not expecting, blood, guts, and action, that you will be satisfied. Next up was another win, and that is A Girl Walks into the Forest by Madeline Rue. I would give this somewhere between 3 and 4 stars. I don't like to give half-star ratings. Let me go on a little side tangent. So I don't like to give half-star ratings, and that is personal. It's like a standard that I try to hold myself to because I have a really hard time making decisions. I like to force myself to pick one, either round up or round down, but pick one. Because if I didn't, then every single book I read would be a 3.5 star, and I would just say everything is like, it's good, So I like to force myself to pick one. And if I'm picking one for A Girl Walks into the Forest, I'm gonna go up and give this 4 stars. I would give this somewhere between a 2 and a 3 on the spookometer, probably a 3, because the family in this book is so weird and gross and creepy. Like, I thought that they were going to be much more disgusting than they were, but like that's how creepy they are. They give you like those super gross like Crimson Peak vibes. Do you know what I mean? So this book is about a young woman named Vala who is absolutely beautiful, and early on in life she is selected to be the wife of a count. This kind of turns her into an outcast because she doesn't really have to do anything. She doesn't have to work very hard. She doesn't really have to live by the same rules as the rest of her community, and it makes her sort of an outcast because she is beautiful and she has been chosen for her beauty. So she doesn't have to do anything except maintain her beauty. So our book starts off with her making her journey through a very frightening forest. She has to travel through the forest to get to the count. And it is a harrowing journey during which she loses her beauty. And I have in my notes, somehow the sudden brutal loss of Vala's beauty is still upsetting to read, even though she is a twit. So she does start out as kind of a twit, and you don't really particularly like her because she does seem to think that she's superior. She kind of shits on the people around her. She doesn't really like or respect the people around her. She kind of talks bad about them. And I guess it's open to interpretation because when I read these parts, I interpreted it as she is beautiful and she thinks that that makes her better than other people. My husband interpreted it as she's beautiful and she has been kind of moved outside of the group and ostracized. So she doesn't necessarily look down on other people, but she feels like she's been removed from them. She is other. So in this story, Vala does reach the manor. She is married to the Count. She meets his very handsome, very charming brother and his very strange and sickly sister. The family as a whole are fucking weird. They're so weird and creepy. All of the people in this are so weird, and we don't like almost any of them. The book does take a little bit of a turn into a place I wasn't expecting, probably 3/4 in. And my husband read this at the same time as me. And so when he got to that part, he was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's about to happen. I didn't expect this to go where it's going. And I definitely agree with that because there's no real mention of where this book goes when you read synopses and the jacket cover. There is a little bit of ambiguity that I wasn't sure how to interpret. There are some words used in this book that I tried to look up, and I think that they're made up words. There's not a whole invented language, but there are, it seems to be, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but there are words that seem to be completely fabricated, but they're spelled and said in such a way that they mimic languages from like Eastern Europe or like Sri Lanka. So I don't know where this is supposed to take place. I assume some maybe fictional version of Eastern Europe. I don't know how I feel about the words being made up. And again, if they are real words and I just couldn't find them, please let me know because I'm not trying to be like insensitive. Felt like it was a little bit crusty to make up words that sound like other languages. It's kind of like when people speak gibberish and pretend that they're speaking Chinese. It just, that was like one thing that I didn't like. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm looking way too far into it. Maybe it's not that deep. This does read a little bit like a YA novel. I think it is a YA novel. So if you're looking for really beautiful prose, if you're looking for subtle language, this is not for you. You're not going to find that here. But you will find a very enjoyable story. And in a deviation from YA form, I don't want to give like spoilers, but I will say that this deviates from the norm in that she does have to rescue herself. A man does not come to her rescue. It is not a strong, independent woman with a sword who has to be rescued by a man. It is a weak woman who has to find strength because of the situation that she's in. And I really, really enjoyed reading her story, and I will definitely keep my eye out for more from this author. Last but certainly not least, I read The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. I gave this 4 stars, and I would give it about a 3 on the Spookometer. I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. So the premise to this story is that our main character, Melissa, who goes by Mouse, has been asked by her father to clean out her dead grandmother's house. We find out when she gets there that grandma was a freaking hoarder and this place is trashed. So she's cleaning this place out and she finds a little handwritten notebook written by her step grandfather. And he, in this notebook, talks about the Twisted Ones, or some sort of like strange creatures that live in the woods. They are very weird. They kind of look like various effigies of dead animals, and it's very creepy. I loved that. I thought that was so weird and cool. And at first, we're reading grandpa or step grandpa's notebook, and we're thinking, oh, this poor man, he was like in the late stages of dementia. He had no idea what was going on until Mouse sees some of these weird living effigies in the woods. And then the story kind of takes a wild ride from there. The side characters are really great. I think that T. Kingfisher really like hit the nail on the head with these characters by making them just real enough. I think that especially with a character like Foxy, it's very easy to go over the top into like a caricature of a person. But Foxy is just like normal enough to not be over the top. She's also really funny. Maybe it's because I live in the South, but I know Foxies in real life, and they are exactly how she's written here. This book takes some turns that I didn't expect. It's very scary, but it's definitely offset by the narration. She's very self deprecating. She's a little bit silly and kind of like snarky or sarcastic with the audience, not necessarily with other characters. I enjoyed that a lot. It made it a lot of fun to read, and it made it easy for me to identify with Mouse as a person. A delightful surprise, and I don't want to spoil too much of this, is that this does involve the Fae, but it involves the Fae in a little bit more of a traditional sense, which was really refreshing because I know that Fae are like really popular, or they're kind of declining in popularity, but they've been really popular in like romantic fantasy or romantasy. And they're all like these winged shadow daddy type characters that just pine for human women, and they're all secretly good guys, except they want you to think that they're bad guys, so they like wear black eyeliner or something. But this is much more traditional Fae, and I like that a lot because, listen, there's a plane flying overhead. What was I saying? Anyway, this does deal with the Fae in a much more traditional, like, they don't give a shit about humans kind of way. I did get a little bit scared while reading this. I was sitting on the couch reading and I started to get like freaked out. And my husband would look over and I would be like, and he's just like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm getting a little scared." So there are some pretty scary parts. I was trying to describe it, but it doesn't sound scary when I describe it. This is a tiny bit of a spoiler, but one of these effigies is a deer skull upside down with kind of part of a deer body, except like it's clearly kind of broken and it doesn't move right. Sometimes it walks on its hind legs. And then the rib cage is pulled open. And it's like, I mean, it's like a rotting deer carcass. In the rib cage is a kind of wind chime, but it's just like stones on strings. So they like knock back and forth when it moves. And I was trying to describe this to my husband, and he's kind of laughing because he thinks it sounds silly. But I am like, listen, there's a part where this thing is peeking in the window at night. I would poop my pants if that happened. I would be so scared. I mean, I guess it's a good thing my husband thinks it's funny because that means maybe he can save me from the terrifying deer effigy. But I would be wetting the bed and like cowering in the corner because that is so freaking gross and creepy. So I would recommend this one. It was a lot of fun. I did start The Watchers by A.M. Shine, and I've kind of fallen into a little bit of a slump. You can see that I am not very far into this. I am 93 pages. It's kind of slow moving. I don't think it's bad, and it's not that I'm not enjoying it. I just think it is a little bit slower than what I wanted right now, and it has made me not pick it up as often. So I might save this one for next year. All right, sports fans, that was my spooky roundup. I did enjoy most of these. There were a couple stinkers, but they didn't ruin the spooky season for me. I hope that you guys will pick some of these up and enjoy them as much as I did.